I want to share with you a story that will make you think about the secrets that can be hidden in the depths of the soul of a seemingly ordinary person. Beauty is a powerful weapon that can help achieve incredible heights, but at the same time, it can attract unwanted attention, which can sometimes cost a life. This is exactly the case I will tell you about today. The morning of August 18, 2018, was extremely difficult for 36-year-old Christina Kraft. When she woke up, she felt an unbearable headache that barely allowed her to understand where she was and what had happened to her. Looking around, Christina realized that she was lying on the floor of her own apartment. What was unusual was that she was suffering from a severe headache that she could barely cope with. The woman tried to remember the events of the previous night spent at the bar, but only hazy memories remained. Literally after a few glasses of alcohol, she had a memory lapse until the moment she opened her eyes. Christina could not remember how she got home from the bar. This seemed extremely strange to her, because she had not drunk so much alcohol to completely lose touch with reality. The protagonist of the story was glad that at least she woke up in her own apartment, and not in some dangerous place. She decided to figure out what could have happened to her, why these memory lapses occurred, and why she felt so sick. Christina was convinced that someone had slipped something into her drink. Wandering around the apartment and going through her things, she found that some of them were missing, in particular, expensive designer handbags, shoes, and credit cards. The sudden realization that she had been robbed stunned the heroine. Obviously, against this background, she could have been pumped with some drugs to make her pass out. After this discovery, Christina was gripped by fear, because the robber could return, perhaps even having made a duplicate of the keys. Therefore, she did not dare to stay alone in her home. This feeling did not leave her for several days before she finally dared to go out into the city. Fear haunted Christina until her very death. The heroine of the story lived in Ardmore, a town with a rich history, located near the center of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, USA. Christina was used to an active nightlife and willingly participated in it. However, at the age of 36, she decided to settle down and, together with her boyfriend Alex, moved to a calmer place, Ardmore. The young woman was just adapting to new living conditions. The apartment where she settled with her beloved was located in one of the prestigious areas with a minimal crime rate. The town of Ardmore led a measured, quiet life. Christina Carlin Kraft was born on November 11, 1981, in New Jersey into a friendly and strong family. Unfortunately, when the girl was only 9 years old, her mother died. This tragic event happened in 1990. After Christina graduated from high school, she got a job as a waitress at a casino on the coast. Although this was not the pinnacle of her dreams, this experience became very useful for her. From childhood, Christina dreamed of becoming a famous model and appearing on the covers of glossy magazines. Her appearance and charisma always attracted the attention of others. In 2003, about $1 million was spent on the development of the infrastructure of the coast where she worked to turn it into an attractive vacation spot. This attracted the attention of investors and wealthy men, one of whom, banker Oleg, Christina met. This meeting turned out to be fateful. The young people fell in love at first sight and quickly started a relationship that lasted 14 years. The couple lived together, but Christina postponed having children because she had not abandoned her dream of a modeling career. Oleg fully supported her aspirations, and soon it began to bear fruit. As a teenager, Christina received invitations to shoot, and over time, her popularity only grew. The girl's photos graced the pages of such famous publications as Maxim, Vanity Fair, and others. She became the face of L'Oreal, Victoria's Secret, and MAC brands. The more photo shoots Christina did, the more new offers came in. However, her cherished dream had always been Playboy. Christina aspired to be on par with the most famous models of this magazine. And so, in 2005, when her popularity reached its peak, she got her own reality show. Christina sent her photos to the Playboy editorial office, and in 2009 she received a call. She was chosen as the Girl of the Week. This meant that her photos and a short biography would appear on the pages of the magazine as part of a special contest. On May 4, 2009, a photo shoot took place, which went brilliantly. And although Christina dreamed of the cover and a full spread, this small success became an important step towards realizing her dream and a kind of ticket to the world of Playboy. From now on, the promising model attended high-profile parties, communicated with Hollywood celebrities and Hugh Hefner himself. Despite this, in the hierarchy of Playboy models, she was still on the lower rungs. Christina was convinced that she would become one of the legendary Playboy girls. But despite her efforts, a serious obstacle appeared on the way to her dream: age. At 26, the model was already considered retired by the magazine's standards, so the chances of great success were rapidly melting away. Although Christina did not manage to fulfill her cherished desire, her modeling career faded as quickly as it flared up. However, the ambitious beauty did not give up. She had many new ideas and aspirations, so she decided to realize herself in another field. But the connection with Playboy made its own adjustments to these plans. Despite the crazy popularity, the scandalous reputation of the magazine scared away potential partners. Well-known brands and glossy magazines began to refuse to cooperate with Christina because of her shooting for Playboy. Despite the positive reviews of her appearance, the doors of the most prestigious castings in the USA were closed to her. In addition, Christina realized the dark side of fame. Publication in the magazine attracted unwanted attention from stalkers. Eventually, her wealthy boyfriend Alex decided that his beloved should quit her modeling career and that they would be safer in the quiet town of Ardmore. But, as it turned out, there are no completely safe places. Even here, Christina met a tragic fate. On August 21, 2018, Alex, as usual, left on business to New York, leaving the girl alone in the apartment. Late in the evening, he called Christina to wish her good night, but she did not answer. Knowing the active lifestyle of his other half, the man did not attach much importance to this, deciding to call back in the morning. The next day, all of Alex's attempts to contact his beloved turned out to be in vain. Her phone was invariably silent. Despite the anxiety, the man had to deal with work issues before returning to Ardmore. Dozens of calls went unanswered until the very evening. Such behavior was extremely uncharacteristic of Christina. Finally realizing that something was wrong, the worried Alex left all his affairs and rushed to their apartment. Arriving around 9 p.m., he tried to unlock the door, but the key didn't work. Assuming that Christina had locked herself inside, the man tried in vain to knock and call her. In the end, he had to call the police. However, law enforcement officers were in no hurry to respond to a call from an elite area, whose residents often bothered them over trifles. But as soon as the duty officer checked the address, his attitude instantly changed. The address was familiar to the investigator. Just 4 days ago, Christina had reported a robbery in her apartment. The thought of a repeat offense caused grim premonitions. The officer feared that the robber had returned and the young woman could have been hurt. The patrol arrived at the scene and saw a confused Alex waiting outside the building. They had to break down the door. Beyond the threshold, chaos reigned, broken furniture, disorder. But the most terrible picture awaited in the bedroom, a blood-soaked sheet, under which lay the mutilated body of Christina. The corpse had already stiffened. The victim was unrecognizable, the skull and jaws were broken, the face was literally crushed, as if someone had jumped on it with both feet, numerous wounds and bruises. This was done by someone in a fit of frenzied rage or a desire to destroy the victim's beauty. On the neck were traces of strangulation, possibly with clothing or a cable, but the weapon was never found. In such cases, the victim's partner is the first to be suspected. Alex was taken to the police station, but after an hour and a half, they realized he was not involved. The man sincerely mourned his beloved, his ironclad alibi was confirmed. This happened in one of the quietest areas of the city. An urgent search for the brutal killer began. The key could be the robbery report from 4 days ago. The investigators were certain that these crimes were connected. Detectives analyzed the camera recordings, reconstructing the events according to Christina's testimony. It was found out that on August 17, she was returning from a bar at 3 a.m. by taxi. The driver was a dark-skinned man about 30 years old with a beard. The car's license plate was known. On the camera recordings near the house, Christina faints getting out of the taxi. The driver pushes her into the back seat, goes to the apartment with her keys. An hour later, he comes out with a heavy box. Then he wakes Christina up, helps her get to the apartment, and leaves. The police released footage from surveillance cameras, urging the public to help identify the perpetrator. Meanwhile, investigators began to find out the details of the victim's life. Christina was very active on social media. Thanks to her digital footprint, it was possible to find out about an incident in 2016, which was even written about in the media. At that time, the police were called to a restaurant in Manhattan, where a visitor beat up a manager. It was Christina. She was arrested, but Alex settled the problem, getting her released on 6 months probation. The version about the manager's revenge was quickly dismissed. After moving to Ardmore, Christina took a long time to get used to a quiet life. Sorting out her biography, the investigators reached her Playboy debut. This lead seemed the most significant, because models often become victims of stalking. Christina had several accounts on modeling platforms, perhaps the killer found her there. In parallel, transactions on the victim's cards were tracked. After the robbery, they were used in a nearby grocery store. The cameras recorded the same taxi driver. He was recognized, Andrew Melton, a dangerous repeat offender with a penchant for violence against women. The police obtained warrants to search and arrest Andrew for burglary. But when they arrived at the address, he was no longer there. During the search, most of Christina's stolen things were found. But the main thing was to catch the criminal and prove his involvement in the murder. The autopsy report was shocking. The victim had 22 broken facial bones, everywhere bruises from brutal beatings. The attack was qualified as premeditated murder with personal motives. Continuing to view the recordings, the investigators noticed another suspicious man. At 3 o'clock in the morning before the murder, he entered the building with Christina. It was another dark-skinned man, of a similar age to Andrew. The cameras did not record him anymore. How did he leave unnoticed? The security system log recorded that at 5:20 a.m., the balcony doors of the first-floor apartment where Christina and Alex lived were opened and closed. Perhaps the killer left the crime scene unnoticed through the balcony. High-quality video allowed a detailed look at the suspect's face. These shots were actively distributed by the media, as well as information about the search for Andrew, a likely accomplice. Journalists relished the dirty details, savoring assumptions about the personal life of the deceased model. This outraged her relatives, who sought to preserve Christina's good name. But the formed image could not be destroyed. Despite the negativity, the publicity helped the investigation. On August 22, Andrew himself called the police. He admitted to the robbery but denied involvement in the murder. He was not going to turn himself in, fearing accusations. Another taxi driver reported that shortly before the murder, he had driven Christina with a dark-skinned man who showed mutual affection. The girl stopped the car on the road, asking to take them because she was allegedly running away from pursuers. The fellow traveler promised a reward if the driver would wait 15 minutes, but he never waited for the money. On October 26, another witness responded. He was in the same ward of a mental hospital with a man he recognized from the news. He was admitted there for attacking a woman a few days before Christina's death and confessed to his neighbor a love of strangulation. These leads inspired the investigators. The investigators arrived at the mental hospital, hoping to find out the real name of the suspect, but disappointment awaited them. The patient called himself John Doe, the name usually given to unidentified bodies. The clinic not only released a potential killer but also did not establish his identity. The investigation ran into numerous violations in the work of the institution. The breakthrough came on August 29, the day of 36-year-old Christina's funeral. A relative of the dark-skinned man from the video contacted the police. He turned out to be 31-year-old Jonathan Wesley Harris, a drug dealer who had served time for a serious crime and was released a month before the murder. Harris's exact whereabouts were unknown, but now the investigators knew who to look for. Eventually, the suspect's sister reported that he had left by bus for Pittsburgh. The police sent patrols to the station to intercept the killer. As soon as the bus arrived, Jonathan was detained and interrogated. According to him, he and Christina met in a bar while intoxicated. Harris treated the girl to drugs, hoping for sex as payment. But she refused to pay $1,200 for his generosity. An argument broke out between them, after which he allegedly left Christina drunk but alive. This version did not explain the brutal injuries of the victim. And no drugs were found in her blood. The investigators gave Jonathan time to think, and he confessed to the murder. He said that after he again demanded money, and Christina hit him with a bottle. Harris carried the unconscious girl to the bedroom, but she came to her senses and screamed. Frightened by possible problems with the law, Jonathan, being intoxicated, tried to force her to shut up. During the struggle, he tied Christina up with her own pajama pants. The man claimed that he then calmed down and wanted to let her go. But it turned out to be a trap. As soon as Christina freed herself, she rushed to the door, but Jonathan caught up with her and threw her back on the bed. Enraged, he began to furiously punch her in the face, inflicting increasingly severe wounds. He yelled at her to shut up, but the girl did not obey. Only when she fell silent did Harris calm down. After that, the criminal searched the apartment for valuables to compensate for his expenses for the evening. But Christina began to breathe somehow eerily, which caused him to panic. Without finding anything of value, Jonathan turned the woman over. Blood was flowing from her mouth. She asked for a phone to call her father. But when he brought her mobile, he saw that she was dialing 911. Suspecting exposure, the attacker pounced on Christina and began to strangle her. According to him, he did not finish the job. He let go when the victim lost consciousness. Harris was certain that she was still alive. He covered her with a sheet because he could not look at her disfigured face. After that, the criminal stole clothes to change into and get rid of the bloodied things. Then, as the police suspected, he escaped through the balcony. Despite the brutality of the massacre, Jonathan insisted that he did not intend to kill, and his aggression and panic were caused by drugs, alcohol, and Christina's refusal to pay. However, the examination did not reveal any drugs in her body. And no injuries from the allegedly broken bottle on Harris's head were found. His story did not stand up to scrutiny. Although the suspect pleaded guilty, he considered the murder unintentional. His defense also adhered to this line, blaming heavy drugs and seeking to mitigate the qualification to negligent homicide. The prosecution, on the other hand, pointed to Jonathan's stories in the hospital about his propensity for murder as evidence of the intentional nature of the crime. The escape, lies about motives and drugs were also interpreted not in his favor. According to the prosecution, if Harris was telling the truth, he could have simply left without any consequences. In the end, the jury found him guilty of premeditated murder, kidnapping, escape, theft, and obstruction of justice. The sentence is life imprisonment without the right to parole plus 22.5 years for related charges. Jonathan laconically agreed with such a punishment. Christina's loved ones did not believe his words. Alex was sure that the girl was not cheating and was not using drugs. The absence of their traces in the blood confirmed this. Most likely, having become drunk, she agreed to Harris's help to get home, and when she wanted to leave, he raped and killed her to avoid exposure. In December 2018, the robber who robbed Christina for days before her death was also caught. Burglary, embezzlement, and encroachment on someone else's property were added to other charges. The punishment was severe. Justice finally prevailed, but this will not bring back the life of a beautiful young woman. That's all for now. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any future content. Take care and goodbye.